Algebra 1, Lesson 35, we are looking at our standard form equations and being able to locate and use intercepts to graph our equations. So, when we do this, remember our standard form of a linear equation we say is ax plus by equals c, where a, b, and c are real numbers and a and b are not both 0. Typically, though, we see that a and b are integers rather than decimals or fractions. So, to be able to use this, we need to find a couple things. We need to find the X intercept, which is where our graph crosses the x-axis. This means that y is going to be 0 in that case. The Y intercept, on the other hand, is where we cross the y-axis. That is where x is 0. So to be able to do this, we find 2 points. We have x, 0 and 0, y. So we can start out a table like this. Okay, and we'll figure out why those answers are true in just a second. But we need to make sure that when we do this, we find, okay, if y is 0, what is x? If x is 0, what is y? So let's do that. Let's plug in y for 0, and we say we have 3x plus 4 times 0 equals 12. We leave x as x, but we put in y as 0. And we say, okay, if 4 times 0 is 0, that just goes away, and we have 3x equaling 12. We divide by 3 on each side and get that x is 4. And that's exactly what we see in this table. We say that x is 4. And we do it again, but in this case, we say x is 0. So we do 3 times 0 plus 4y is equal to 12. This goes away. We divide by 4, and we get y is equal to 3, which is what we get in this table. Now to graph this on our coordinate plane, all we have to do is follow the directions that it gave us. And it says we need to do 4, 0, which is right here. Over 4, but up nothing. And then we have 0, 3. We go right and left nothing, but up 3. And we have my line. That's as simple as it is. Let's try another one. In this case, we have x minus 2 equals 4y. Now you can say, well, this doesn't really look like it should. It doesn't look like a standard form equation, and you would be right. We need to make sure that x and y are the same side. And I'm actually going to try to get them on that left side. It's the most typical to have x being positive, so I am going to add 2 to each side and get that x is equal to 4y plus 2, and then I'm going to subtract 4y on each side. X minus 4y is equal to 2. And then we start plugging things in, and we say, okay, if y is 0, we have x minus 4 times 0 is equal to 2. So x is equal to 2. And we do it again. We say 0 for x minus 4y is equal to 2. This goes away, and we say we have a negative 4y, so we divide by negative 4. And we get y is equal to negative 0.5. When we graph this on our coordinate plane, we say, okay, I have these points. We have 2, 0. Let me show it in our table. We have 2, 0, and we have negative 0.5 for y when x is 0. So we plot these on our coordinate grid, and we say we have 2, 0, and we have, oops, sorry, it should be down negative 0.5. So we have this line. This is how we use our standard form equations to graph every single time. So when we get to something like this, we can create a standard form equation and then graph it. So we would say, at the carnival on Friday, student tickets will be sold for $3, adult tickets for $5. Let x be the number of student tickets and y be the number of adult tickets. Write an equation for the carnival tickets if CCA makes $630 this weekend. Find the intercepts and explain what they mean. Well, what we would say is, if each student ticket is $3, we would say 3 times x will be how much we make from the student tickets, and 5 times y will be how much we made off of the adults. We know that totals $630. so that we can set up our table and say if x is 0, if y is 0, what do we get? And so we say, okay, if x is 0, that means we have 3 times 0 plus 5y is equal to 630. We divide by 5 and see that y is equal to 126. Now if y is 0, we say, all right, instead of 3 times 0, we're doing 5 times 0, so we get 3x is equal to 630. We divide by 3. We get that x is equal to 210. And we can graph it, and this is just going to be a really quick sketch. We would say something like 0, 126, maybe 126 is up here. We put a dot. And we have our 210, comma 0, and this is my line. Now what this means is we can have all of these different values in the middle here. Those will get us to $630. And our intercepts are really the highest amount that we could have for the student tickets without selling any adults, and the highest amount for our adults without selling any students. Okay, these are our extremes. So with these 0, 126, this is saying if we sold 0 student tickets, we would have to sell 126 adult tickets to get to that 630. And on the flip side, if we didn't sell any adult tickets, we would have to sell 210 student tickets to get to $630. Okay, let's look at a few more examples and then we'll be done. All right, so if we have 5x minus 6y equals 30, we can make our intercepts pretty easily at this point, and we would say, all right, 5 times 0 minus 6y equals 30. So we would divide by negative 6 and get that y is negative 5. And we could do 5x minus 6 times 0 is equal to 30. This goes away, and we divide by 5, and we get x is equal to 6. So when we graph this on our coordinate grid, we would say, all right, I have an intercept at 6, 0, and I have an intercept at 0, negative 5. And this is my line. Not too bad. Now if we looked at a grid or x and y intercepts like this, we want to find them, and we're given something. And we say, well, my x-intercept right here is negative 4, 0. My y-intercept looks like it's at 0, 7. Write the equation y equals negative 2/3 x plus 5 in standard form, then graph the equation using x and y intercepts. What this is saying is that I need my x and y on the same side, so let's start with that. We are given y equals negative 2/3 x plus 5. So we need to add 2/3 x to each side. So we would say I have 2/3 x plus y is equal to 5. But typically we don't see fractions in front of our x or our y, so I'm going to get rid of that fraction by multiplying by the denominator on both sides. And I would say, okay, I'm going to distribute here, and I would get 2x, distribute again, and I would get plus 3y equaling 15. Much easier to work with. Okay, and using the x and y intercepts, I would make my graph x and y 0 and 0. So if I plug in 0 for x, I'm going to get y is 5. If I plug in y is 0, I'm going to get that x is 7.5. Now I would just plot those on my coordinate grid. Let's try another one. At my favorite muffin this past weekend, they sold X amount of muffins for $3 each and Y amount for $5, or Y amount of bagels for $5 each. If they made $315, how many muffins and bagels could they have sold? What are the extremes? What are my intercepts? Well, we need to write our equation, and we would say 3x plus 5y is equal to the 315. And to get our intercepts, we would start plugging in and saying, if x is 0, if y is 0, and finding the other part. So if x is 0, I would need to take 315 and divide it by 5. And let's see, we will get 315 divided by 5 is 63. So y is 63. And then I say if my y is 0, all right, if y is now 0, that goes away and we get 3x is equal to 315. We divide by 3, and we see we get 105, I believe. So with these, what we're saying is if we just wanted to make $315, we could sell 0 of the muffins and 63 bagels, or we could sell 105 muffins and no bagels. Really, anything in between that, okay, that would get us to the 315 is possible as well, but these are our extremes. These are our extremes. And here's one last question for you if you would like to do this on your own. Take our standard form equation and find the intercepts. Well, I hope this is helpful for your homework and for studying.